Morning traders and welcome to Morning Glory. Okay, so today we are here again on yet another trade on Morning Glory, and we're just up just a little over £100. But do remember that none of these profits are realized until we close the trade. Okay, a second thing I do want to tell you all to take note is that regardless of whatever this price shows, and it shows up to 300 £500, this you must always remember that your focus is always on risk management, because none of this cash is yours. Because over the 20,000 people that we have coached and trained, and also the thousands and hundreds and tens and thousands of trades that we have placed, we know that anything can happen in the market. So the only thing that you have control, absolute control, is your risk management. Okay, where you want to pull out the trade, where you want to trail your stop loss, this is what you have absolute control of. Okay, let's take an analysis of this particular trade at the moment. So what we have over here, firstly, this is an anomaly trade. Okay, this is an anomaly trade because our higher time frame is actually not matching up to our lower time frame. Okay, so as of yesterday, our bias, when we calculate all the calculations, we do actually have a bias on the downside. A bias on, actually we do not even have a bias. It's actually neutral as of yesterday. All right, it was neutral, as unbiased. Okay, we do not even have a down bias as well. But however, based on cycle studies, therefore based on like phase 1 and phase 2 studies, we have seen there's a case for an upside. But of course, since the bias is not matching, we then take this as an anomaly position, and we do reduce our position size on this particular trade. This is why today, when you look at the particular position, it's only at 1.5 lots. Okay, not the usual 3 lots that we usually place, right? Okay, cool. So that's to do with that. Firstly, it's an anomaly position. So on an anomaly position, usually our stop loss trails are very aggressive, very aggressive. Okay, so because to protect ourselves in terms of adverse move, and also it's not the normal positions that we usually take. So that's point number 1. So firstly, it's an anomaly position, and therefore first I'll be trailing also my stop loss to minimize my risk over here. 127.27. Okay, just 2 pips below the low is what we usually do, and 127.27 over here. Let me just put this in. Okay, great. So there we go. So we've trailed those stop losses to the low of this bar. At the end of the hour, I must also do remember our BOE, Bank of England Governor Carney, is speaking as well, as you can see on Forex Factory over here. So he is speaking at 11 a.m. So there'll be a bit of volatility happening over there. So my stop losses will be getting much more tighter. Okay, given that also it's a anomaly position today, that's why we have to be careful. All right, and also take a look at this bar over here. I'll show you on the other screen and much more clearer for you guys. You see also over here, you can see that there's been a big spike up, but then there's been a big aggressive selling off as well. So that's all quite a bit not usual. It's showing that the upward move doesn't have much volume behind it. Okay, so we want to be very extra careful on positions, on moves like that. All right, okay, so I think that's that for now. I will resume the recording as the trade progresses. Then you can see how we did for this particular trade. But do remember, all over here in Master the Markets over here, what we're doing is from live trading, then we are then sharing the information to you, because not only are we talking the talk, but we're walking the talk as well. Okay, that's what's very important, because only when you get in the driver's seat and drive the car, or when you're learning from a true driver in the car, is where the biggest learning experience happens. And also, just as a disclaimer and everything, this is all just for purely educational purposes, and everything that you do is based on your own risks, and it's got its own risks as well. Okay, all we are sharing with you over here is our own trading, and from pure live transparent trading, because all we stand for at Master the Markets is establishing the truth in the industry. Okay, right, so I will pause the video right down here, and what you all can do, I'll share with you all as we progress into the trade and see how we fare on this particular trade. Alright traders, as you can see over here, currently our position here, we have trailed the stop loss to the low of this bar. That's what we meant by getting so aggressive because of one point, which was an anomaly position, okay? But you can see over here traders, the most important thing over here, I did remind you all that whatever profit that you saw in the profit loss account statement is not true, it's not realized. So therefore you guys always focus on your risk management. So as you can see over here at the moment, you can see that we just took a very small loss today at 353. Okay, that's all we did, because all we're doing in this model, in this strategy that we've created, is when the profits run, is when the runners run, and this will all be overridden really fast. Okay, I think one thing that traders do get, and this is what happens to them, is that they get disheartened when a position like that, which is unrealized profits, become a loss. Do remember that over here traders, the most important word I always have mentioned in another video as well is what we call cumulative. Okay, we're looking at cumulative trade performance, just not one trade making you the money, but the strategy holding for the long run. That's what you're here for as professional traders, and that's what we actually share with you in the 3 simple step methodology that we actually talk in our Trade Like a Master video series. Okay, I guess that's pretty much that in terms of this video over here. But all I did want to mention for you guys is that 3 things, if I want to summarize in this particular video, is that one thing, always focus on only one thing, which is your risk. Okay, doesn't matter how much profit the trade is in, because this is the only thing you have absolute control of. Okay, and the risk, as from today's trade, what we learned first is that ask yourself if the position you're taking today, is it a standard setup or is it an anomaly position? Okay, anomaly or a standard. Okay, do remember that today it was an anomaly because we're taking it against the higher time frame bias. Now the second thing you got to ask yourself, other than anomaly or standard, because that will then basically determine your position size, the second thing then you got to ask yourself is whether how you're going to trail your stop loss. Usually for anomaly, it's going to be aggressive from our point of stand, and for standard, it's going to be a bit more conservative. Okay, it's going to be a bit more conservative. Now, the final thing that then you got to do is be disciplined. You got to be so disciplined in following your plan. Don't let your psychology come in and say that, you know what, let's give it a few more pips. Let's see whether it turns around or not. No, you got to be absolutely disciplined, follow your plan, be aggressive. Because traders, the last thing you ever want is what? Is basically for it to hold on to a losing position where it becomes a big loss, which is what we do not want. Okay, we do not want big losses. All we are here for is to capture the big wins, the small wins, and if you can just get aggressive and get really tight on that risk management, and only will allow small losses only. This is the 3 things. This is an absolute no. All right, so do remember these 3 points what I've told you. Always do maintain whether it's anomaly or standard position, aggressive cover if it's anomaly, conservative cover if it's a standard. You must all outline all of this in your crib sheet, which is your first thing, which is your strategy component out of the 3 simple step methodology. And the third thing is be disciplined in following your plan, because over here when you see a high test bar like that, you'll be tempted to get out of the position. But traders, I'll tell you, do not do that. Okay, but because I've seen positions where it can just reverse and go all the way up. So when you see positions like that, be disciplined, follow your plan, and just as we always say, trade like a master.